Hello, hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you with education and information and a little bit of laughter because, as we know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And we're here with one of our wonderful Fresh Starts experts, Candice. Candice, can you tell us about what you do?
Sure. First, thank you for having me on. I'm very excited. I know divorce happens, and part of what I do is energy healing. And
Mm.
so, through energy healing, we can help lessen the burden of what divorce brings in for everybody.
I love that. And I personally done a lot of work with Candice. I've been to many of her events, and she is, I like to say, the closest thing to a witch we have on this planet. A good witch, I will say.
Yeah,
So I adore Candice. But okay, let's talk about, before we get into the energy healing part, you do something very specifically with energy healing. So, what is emotion code and body code, Candice?
sure. So, emotion code is a modality where we identify and release emotions that you have trapped in your body. So, as we go through life, right, we have trauma, we have life experiences that we don't always fully experience or we don't fully
Mm.
process our feelings around it. And we also can have inherited emotions. And what happens is these emotions get stuck. And we have a way of identifying and releasing these emotions fairly quickly and easily.
Mm.
It's pretty easy on the body, and you can feel an energetic shift pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so essentially, I'm working with the subconscious, right? So I'm the facilitator or the
Mm.
guide of,
Mm.
of what your body wants to release or knows that it needs to release.
Yeah, I love that. And I personally have done it, and my kids have done it there in the background doing it
Hmm.
too with you. Okay, so that being said, it's not like a surprise that when we go through any major life change, right? But specifically we're going to talk about divorce. We carry around so much emotional baggage, and
Hmm.
it's not just new baggage, but it's a
Mm-mm.
lifetime of baggage, right? So,
Yes.
first my first question for you, Candice, is what is the relationship between the spiritual and emotional carrying of that baggage and the physical in our day-to-day life?
Hmm. So, from an energy standpoint, right, I'll deal with the physical first, which can be really big for people. That's really how I started with the emotion code. It was physical pain I was having for
Mm.
various reasons. But when you think about when you're going through a divorce, right, it's heavy on your heart, right? It's a heavy time in life. You're feeling a burden physically
Mm.
on your body. You could have a lot of tension in your shoulders. You could have a lot of headaches. You could have migraines, right? There's a lot of physical aspects
Yeah.
to carrying and feeling those emotions. And we're able to, again, identify and release those pretty quickly. From a spiritual aspect, that really gets more into the body code piece,
Mm.
which is where we can have energetical cords, right? So these invisible lines of energy between yourself and, right, whoever your partner that you're going through the situation with. And
Mm.
innately, those cords can be good, right? We love someone, we create these
Right, right, right.
bonds and energetic connections. But when they're not good for us anymore, right, they can cause some pain and dis-ease in the body.
Mm.
So it's really important. Again, we're not taught how to feel our feelings, right? And so you talked about it's not just this moment of divorce that's happening, right? It's, gee, I fell off my bike when I was 10 and I trapped a bunch of emotions.
Yeah.
And now it's just, right, it's a pile on and a pile on and a pile on. And then as we get older, it becomes, more significant in our bodies.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we have a lot of this emotional baggage. What do we do about it, Candace?
That's right.
What do you do? Well, how do you work with people?
So again, working through the subconscious, it's energy work. I actually connect into the subconscious, and I use a pendulum to do
Yeah.
that muscle testing. And I'm asking questions. I'm asking questions about what emotions are trapped, potentially what age they got trapped at,
Mm-hmm.
where they might be in the body, what other things are impacting it. And then we just release the energy over the governing meridian. And
Mm.
so that really starts at the tip of our lip, goes to our spine, but we're really just kind of swiping over our head and just releasing
Yeah.
energy. And it just It feels so good to
It
just,
does.
release it. It feels most people feel lighter. It sounds silly, but lighter and brighter
Yeah.
after a session.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
No, the work you do is truly magic. I tell everybody, even just watching you do your pendulum is like meditative. It really is. It really is. Okay, so if somebody's listening to this and they're like, yes, please, like I need to
Mm.
release this energy. How do you work? How can people get in touch with you? All the good stuff.
Absolutely. So I do everything remotely. So everything is over Zoom. I have a website, so indigosoul.com. You can go there and check out what I'm doing. There's lots of testimonials. And everything's just done virtually. So we can do one-on-one sessions. One of the things that I love to work on people with, especially who are going through divorce, is their heart wall.
I was
So
going to
I
say the same
have,
thing.
yeah, I have a heart wall release package because it typically takes 3 to 5 sessions, right? We've built up this wall of
Mm-hmm.
emotions that we don't want to feel, and so it takes a little bit of time
Yeah.
to bring that wall down. One of the From a heart wall release perspective and divorce, what I've seen with some of my clients is there's there can be a big shift in us physically. So some folks might, develop high blood pressure, right, from all of the stress, and your blood pressure might reduce. Or we
Mm-hmm.
talked about migraines earlier,
Mm-hmm.
just this heaviness. And those are the types of results that I get with my clients. So they can find me on Instagram and Facebook, and yeah, and my website.
And you have a podcast.
And I have a podcast with my
Yeah.
co-host. It's called Healers with Humor, and we talk all about all the things, all the things energy, all the things healing, with to your point earlier, right? A hair of humor, because we can't get
Yeah.
through all of this without some friends and without
Mm-hmm.
community and without a little bit of laughter, because that just goes a long
That's
way.
totally. Yeah. And Shelly is one of our other experts, which we love.
Yes.
And something I adore about you, Candice, is that you're so authentic. Like, you don't show up to
Mm.
people and say, like, I'm going to heal you. And I've never been through anything myself. Like, you really get into the shit about the stuff you've been through. And I think
Mhm.
it's really important when we work with a healer that they understand that
Mm.
it takes time. It's a
Yes.
process, right? You do such beautiful work. Well, all of
Thank you.
Candice's information will obviously be in the show notes. You can go to freshstartsregistry.com/experts and find her there as well. Candice, if somebody's listening to this and they're going through a divorce, what would be some words of encouragement you could leave them with?
You don't have to do it alone, right? It can
Mm-hmm.
be a really isolating experience, and just finding, right, your tribe of people, your community,
Yeah.
finding a practitioner, right, who is empathetic, even if they haven't been through, right, exactly what you're dealing with. You don't have to do it alone. We are, there's lots of people out there that are, willing to listen and help and give the energy healing that's going to help you lighten that load a bit.
Absolutely. And that's literally the beauty of Fresh Starts, is that you can build that team, because
Mhm.
it's not just your divorce lawyer and your
Mm-mm.
therapist, it's your healers and your yoga teachers and your stylists and all the other people that are
That's
going to
right.
really help you get back to who you want to be in this next
Hmm.
phase of your life. And I think we overlook the energy aspect of it so much.
Yeah.
And I know when I was going through my divorce, I had astrologers, I had healers, right? And
Hmm.
it really did help, because you do need people.
Yeah, you lose yourself,
You do.
right?
Yeah,
You
you
lose
do.
yourself in that process, and you're taking on potentially, your partner's, right, energy as well,
Yeah.
and that's a big piece of the work that I'm doing, is helping you, kind of peel back to get back to who are you authentically,
Mm,
getting back to remembering who you were, or who
right.
you want to be,
Yeah.
without all of this junk, this emotional baggage
Right.
sitting on top of you.
From so many people. Could be your
That's right.
parents, could be your
Absolutely.
grandparents. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, the work you do is fantastic, and we're just so happy that you're part of Fresh Start. So
Thank you.
thank you for being here, Candace.
Yeah. I wanna add one piece too,
Please.
is if you have children, when you go through a divorce, right, you're experiencing this with your children
Yeah.
as well, and children can benefit from the experience,
Yeah.
even if they're not, going if they're not doing it for themselves, having you, right, become a more healed
I
and
love that.
authentic person, and showing them that it's okay, right,
Yeah.
to get the help that you need, and that there's ways to do that outside of going to the doctor,
Mhm.
even though that's very important if you need that.
Right. Right.
But
There's a
yeah, there's
lot of
lots of
ways. Yeah.
ways that we can heal ourselves. Our body wants to heal innately,
I love
right? We
that.
have the ability to heal ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just need a little help along the way.
I love that, and I will say again, I've done so many sessions with group sessions with you, and my kids are in the room, and now they know to swipe over their head when they
Yeah.
want to shift their energy. So,
Yes.
I totally, totally love it, and I think that that's a great point is that modeling
Hmm.
for our energy wellness for our
Yeah,
children. So wonderful.
absolutely.
Always, always the pleasure talking to you, Candice. Thank you for being
Thank you.
here.
Thank you.